Hi friends, on behalf of Tech Padasala, we like to thank you for all the encouragement you have been giving us in terms of your viewership, in terms of the emails, in terms of the chat messages. That is actually propelling us to keep moving forward. Thank you for that. In the year 2019, we do a market analysis on the bot frameworks which were widely adopted and which had grown tremendously, not only in terms of the users but also in terms of the developer community. RASA has stood number 2 in the whole ranking. Microsoft framework is in the top position, but for a company which had been into existence for the last 3 years, competing and gaining the number 2 spot against heavy lifters such as Amazon, Microsoft, Google, it itself indicates the engineering excellence and the effort which has gone in making this framework a huge success. Statistically, for every 1 minute, there is one download of RASA framework happening in some corner of this planet. So even in the last 1 minute, a new person, either a developer or user, has got into this RASA community. So such is the growth. In fact, from Tech Padasala, we didn't anticipate creating a video in such a short span, indicating the features which have got upgraded, the features which have got simplified in the last 6 months. And that again speaks volume of the way this framework is growing, right? In the same context, I also like to mention that there have been a lot of emails which are getting backlogged where we need to respond back. Be assured your mails will be responded back. The last 2 months, we have seen an exponential increase in the number of emails which we have started receiving. It also indicates the number of people who have started embracing this technology. So my commitment is each of your email will be responded. Just be a little bit more patient with us. Coming back to the changes which we are talking about in the last 6 months in RASA framework, right? If I have to summarize it in one statement, it is all about enhancing the user experience and reducing your technical engagement. So what I mean by that is, if you are a person who wants to create a flawless or a near world replica of a conversation, you want to model a real world conversation and you are more into it, and if you are feeling that you are limited by your technical ability, then RASA's upgrade has really helped you. It is actually targeted at you. It wants to reduce the technical dependency more into the coding configuration part of it and allow the user or the developer to focus more and more in making the modeling the conversation right. So you should be focusing more on understanding how a real world conversation happens and simulate it and make the machine understand and respond back to it, rather than focusing more on Node.js or into Java or into Python. By saying this, I'm not denying that you need not know any of the programming language. Unfortunately, we still need to know, but how much we need to know, that has gone down drastically. Now it has become like more componentized. You just need to know that, okay, these are the elements which are available and these sections get into each of these elements. To that level of knowledge, will you be able to launch a open source on-prem chatbot? Absolutely yes. And now the model, you can put it to a cloud whether you will have a Amazon S3 bucket where you want to put in the final model and invoke it using an EC2 instance. RASA has all those features now. So you can put it into the cloud on your own terms. And also, they have given us the confusion matrix to evaluate the efficiency of the natural language understanding and the dialogue simulation process. In fact, they have come up with some colorful graphs to indicate how accurate is the model in predicting the intent, in predicting the next response. Those are some astounding growth which we have seen in a very short span. As I said, RASA is just into existence for the last 3 years, right? So what we are going to see in this session is RASA-X. It's a very cool GUI which allows you to train the chatbot on the intent, on the entities, and also allows you to interactively correct if the model is predicting a different path, you want to correct it then and there, it allows you. It even allows you to experiment with multiple models at the same time. So you have a version 1, version 2, version 3. You can go ahead and say which version looks better and see how this model behaved in the previous version, all in the form of a GUI. And once you got your story right, by a click of a button, you can get that story uploaded or updated into your base training data, and you can, using the same RASA-X, you can train the model and create the incremental version. Now you may ask, were not all these features available in the previous framework? They were, but as I said, there are too many command line arguments. It was not that developer friendly. Even if you miss out on some of the argument, or you miss out on certain hyphens, a white space appearing in between, there was a bit of tough time. I have personally experienced it. But now making it in the form of a cool GUI, it has simplified the whole process, allowing you to focus more and more on data. So in the hands-on session, we are going to take the same chatbot which we developed in the previous video, which is called as the weather bot, and port it in RASA-X and see how cool it has become. And if you are a beginner who have just started, I have given all this code, including my stories, data.nlu, and the actions, all this in my GitHub, whose link is published in the description of this video. You can fork it and you can follow me there. And for those people who had already started with the weather bot and now they want to try using RASA-X, just wanted to let you know that APXIU, that website which provided the free information of weather, got rebranded as WeatherStock. Still they operate in the same way. They give you a key which you can embed in your program and pass on an argument which you get from the user with the city name, and it will get back to you with the weather and all the other conditions. A little bit of modalities have changed, but it has nothing to do with RASA. It is more to do with the API. So if you are someone who is brand new to chatbot and you want to develop something, you can follow the same model wherein the template files will be created by RASA, and you can start putting in your data, your stories, and get into RASA-X, train it further, make use of the interactive learning piece wherever things are going wrong, to fix it then and there until you have perfected the model. Once you have perfected, there are ways to check the efficiency of it. As I said, using your confusion matrix is one such way. And once the model is valid, you are fine with it, you can put it in cloud and invoke it through an endpoint. It can be an Amazon, it can be an Azure, it can be even in Google. So that is the invoking part and other things. We can take it as a session 2. In this session, we will focus more on creating a chatbot. How do we do it from the scratch? And what files we will copy in case if you are already familiar with WeatherBot. If you are not, how do you go ahead and train it using RASA-X? I hope you all get it. Let's get on to the practical session on RASA. So let's assume you are going to start brand new. What you need to do is get onto this site, which I'll give you in the description, and depending on what type of machine you have or the operating system you have, basically it can be a Linux or a Mac or a Windows, you can go ahead and install the RASA core and the RASA NLU part of it. This will guide you step by step. It's pretty much the straightforward way. In the earlier feature, we used to do a lot of things. We used to create a batch file with too many pip commands and execute it. Now, thank God it has become simple. Then you have to install RASA-X. This is the simplest way to do it. It worked for me. Just copy paste this command after you have installed RASA. This will write royally install RASA-X. Done. So now you have installed RASA, you have created RASA-X, depending on whichever operating system you are in. So the next thing is, if I just go through this RASA tutorial, right? If you type this RASA init, what really happens is it creates a set of template files for you. Initially, in the previous videos, if you have seen, we used to do it manually, but now a template file will be created. And just to walk you through actions.py, this is where your entire API invoking code will go in. So if you want your chatbot to talk to a database, to talk to an external world and retrieve data or save data, that code should get into this. Configuration.yml depends on which model you're going to use. In most of the cases, we don't touch it, but in the WeatherBot, I have changed it to a different model using Spacey. In credentials, it is the interface of your chatbot with the outside channels, right? Sorry, that is endpoint. And this is how do you connect it to the service. So what are the ID, password, and those details. In the data NLU.model, this will be your training data. This is where you need to focus. Here you need to provide as much of data. This is nothing to do with technology, but rather to do it to model your chat on whatever the possible ways a user will interact. And stories is one full conversation. Again, these are the two things which will make your chatbot highly efficient. Domain.yml, it talks about the various possibilities which will exist in your interaction. I will walk you through that file as such. Endpoint is like if you want to connect it to a Slack, you want to connect it to your own website, you want to connect the chatbot to a FB Messenger. It has all the template details. You just need to key in the exact keys, right? And this is more about indicating the model which is getting built out of the whole process. As I said, this model you can deploy it in S3 and invoke it to EC2, or you can keep it in your own hard drive. When we go into RASA-X, I will show you how to see the latest model based on the timestamp, right? So in my case, after I have executed this command in the terminal, this is what I got. So let me see. So I have all the files which are created and more than that, because we just did the RASA-X example here. So let me walk you through the domain.yml, which is the most important file. So my chatbot, which is a weather bot again, I will have a greet intent, I will have a goodbye intent, I will have a inform. Inform intent is when you say, how is the weather in Chennai? So here I'm going to tell you the weather in Chennai. But if I'm going to say, how is the weather out there? You need to ask me which location. So that will be the enquire intent. So enquire will ask you the detail of which location you are talking about. Inform is it will specify the exact details, the weather details of the location which you have queried in. And how do you get it? You will be getting it from a website called as weatherstock. And how do I invoke it? In action.py. In action.py, I have put in my access key, and this location will be coming from the chatbot, and then I invoke the API with this parameters, and whatever I get it as a result, I'm going to put it back. This is, you can modify this code to do whatever you need. What I mean is, you can connect it to any database, you can do a update, deletion, all the CRUD operation. So that is all these actions get in actions.py, right? And endpoints.yml, I'm just running it in my local host, so I have uncommented this section. But if you want to interface your chatbot with different type of interfaces, you can definitely do it here. You need to uncomment and pass on those parameters. It will work. Okay. So, but again, for this session, I'm just going to use my own machine as a place to work. So that is the reason I have uncommented this section. This is all these files will be auto generated, right? Now, the two things which I told you is pretty important apart from your domain and action is, you get into the data, this folder will be auto created once you run that command. Once you run once you run this command, all this will be auto created. Okay, so you need not worry about it. This nlu.md, there are two ways. Either you go ahead and write manually, or you just create one record and then you can use RASA-X to train and add more and more feature. That will be a GUI based one, or this will be a manual one. What I have done is I have copied the JSON file which I had from the previous weatherbot into it. And once you copy it and execute it using RASA-X, which I'll show you, it will take care of all the formatting. So for example, once if I say, how is the weather in Chennai, it will understand that Chennai is the location, and this is an inform intent. So I'm going to say hello, hi, it will understand it is a greet intent. If I say thank you or bye, it will understand it's a goodbye intent. If I just say how is the weather, it will understand it's an inquire intent, and that means in the RASA core, it will go and ask you which location it is. We will show you that. The stories.md, it's again when you use RASA-X, how many ever stories which you generate, you can save it here. But for your model to work efficiently, more the stories, more the data, efficient is the model. Okay, all the stories which you see, the numbers generated, it will be auto generated. These numbers are auto generated via RASA-X, which we will see once we get in there. So you have all these things. Now I'm going to go ahead and say terminal. Okay, this is my terminal directory. So what I'm going to do is, first let me initiate the actions.py. Actions. Now it will start running this on my local machine, and so basically that actions.py will be waiting for any input which is coming in. Then it will invoke the API and it will pass back the result. So just let us wait for this to run. As I said, this is one place where you can put as much as your code you want or your interaction with the outside world. Now I have this action.weather, so if you want to go ahead and look at it, action.py, this is a class which we have, right? So that is what it shows. Now it is running, it is waiting. Now I'll again go, say, create another terminal, cd, okay. Now rasa, I can say rasa shell and do it in the command prompt. That is one way of doing it. Or I can get directly into RASA-X. Type RASA-X. So it is going to bring out a beautiful GUI wherein you can work around and enhance your model, train your model, upgrade your model, all interactively. This feature was missing in the earlier version. It's going to take a little bit of time. You'll get a browser which will pop up. Yes, it did pop up. Don't worry about this. I just click it out. Now I have a bot. So these are the models. If you click on this, these are the various model you have. You can choose to delete. I can delete the old model, done. Or I can choose to work on the previous model by just clicking here and say activate. Make active. Now this model will become active. And which is the latest model? You can see the timestamp. So this one was generated on Jan 12th, Sunday, 7:13. Right now this is 7:11, so I will better go with this, right? Or even you can upload a model, but I would prefer to do it here. And I will come back to the train NLU training. Here all your intents will be there. So how is the weather? I'm going to say, oh no, how is the weather is not an inform intent, it is going to be an inquire intent. So I can say it is inquire. I can correct it. Now it will start learning. How is Chennai today? Chennai is going to be a location, right? So I'm going to highlight it. Now it takes it right. Now I'm going to say correct. So all the things which you have given in the data, it will come over here. Now assume that you have not given many items. You can click here. Say, how is Mumbai, right? Now it has already said how is Mumbai is going to be inform intent, which is right. So you can keep training as much as you want. It will take all the intents from your domain file and will list in here. So this intents, if you remember, you gave it in the domain file. These are the intents which is taking here. So you can keep training it. These are the responses. So if you say goodbye, these are the three ways you can say. You can even add. Say for example, I can say after goodbye, I can say thanks. Now thanks has become a way of saying it. It can choose any one of it, or even you can delete saying that this is no longer appropriate. Application, these are the ways you can keep adding it. This has now become more GUI oriented, right? Stories, as I said, all the stories which we have be here. You can create a story, you can see the flow in it. And can you edit the story and make it better? Absolutely yes, which I'll show you. This is a configuration file which is taken directly from what is generated. So let me show you. So you have your the files which are here, the config.yml. This is what is coming over there. So you can edit it here. Then you have your domain file. This is the one which you created there. It is taken up, right? Oh God, I accidentally removed it. So let me go back. Yep, it is there. Okay, now, so I have told you how to train it, or the responses you can keep adding. You can see the stories, the configuration, the domain file, the models, whichever models you want. Now let's talk. So I'm going to interact with my chatbot. Okay, so here it is a restart. This is like once you type anything, you can set enter. This is the most important button. If you see the chatbot is not behaving in a way you expected it to behave and you want to correct the course of action, for example, I say good morning and then it says bye. Actually, it is not a bye, right? Good morning is a greet intent, but the chatbot is not rightly predicting it. You can switch on to the interactive mode and make changes. Let me show you in the normal way first. So I say hi. Now the chatbot will say, will understand it is a greet intent. So it has understood it is a greet intent. There are no slots in it. It says, what can I do for you today? May I know the weather? Now I'm asking it, I know the weather, but I didn't specify any location. So it has understood. I have to inform and ask what location. I'm going to say Chennai. Now it is going to, it has identified the location. Chennai is the slot. It has called the action weather, which we are running over here. And then it has got the temperature, right? It has called this API, got the temperature and returned it, and now you see it here. So this is a perfect user story. You can say bye. And it should, and it's understood it's a goodbye intent. Now this is a good story. Can I save it? Yes. Now once I saved it, it goes and gets stored in the stories. Now let's do an interactive mode and see how it works. Hi. Now it asks you, it says that the machine has understood this as a greet. Are you right? You say yes. Now the next action, it says I should also utter a greet. Is it yes? Say yes. The next, so it has said, hello, how can I help? Now it says I should wait for the user to enter something. Is it right? Yes. Let's say whether in, let us say what? London. I'm going to say enter. It says weather in London. Intent is to inform. Say yes. Now it is going to call action weather. You say yes. Now it is going to say yep, 11 degree. Now assume somewhere this didn't behave in the way it should be. You can always correct this. By clicking on correct, it will restart the whole conversation and you can keep changing. Now for example, instead of action listen, I can say you should now go back and utter greet, utter goodbye, utter location. You can select and guide it. That is how you model a conversation. As many stories you keep adding. Now in this case, action listen is right. Now I say thanks. It says it's a goodbye intent. Yes. It should say a goodbye. Yes. Now after that it will wait. Now actually should it wait? Need not be, because the conversation is over. So what you can do is you can say and deactivate form. Okay. Now can I save it? You can save. Or what happens if I say clear? The entire thing goes off. You can restart from the beginning. So this interactive learning mode is more for helping you to shape up the conversation if the chatbot is not behaving in the right way. So when you will require it more is if you have only 2 or 5 user stories, which doesn't cover the entire gamut of things, this will be coming in handy. But if you are populating 50, 100, 200 user stories, normally chatbot would have learned a lot. So after you have either added training data or you have added more stories, you can say train. Now it will train and a model will be generated, which you can see. Training is done. See the new model. Now the new model is just now generated. Can you activate this now? Because if you really see, this is the model which will be active. So can I go ahead and say make active? Absolutely yes. Can I delete the old model? Yes. Okay. So this is how it works. Hope you find it much easier than the previous way of doing things. And once you are done, you can exit your command prompt. It will come out. And then I can log out. Hope you found it easier. If you have any questions, drop me a message, and we will keep building more and more chatbot. Thank you.